Hi guys, this is Anna and I'm here to talk about the third volume of Alexandria Quartet called Mountolive, which I have finished back in May. I'm currently in the process of reading the final fourth book, and once again had to stop myself just so that I can talk about the third volume without casting any extra judgment. So when you know the story, your view from the previous viewpoint changes. So the third book, called Mountolive, is told from yet a different perspective. Mountolive is a British ambassador to Egypt, and we get to see his integration into Egyptian society over the years. He first came to Egypt, to Alexandria, when he was still a very young man. He was relatively unknown. No way anyone knew that he would be an ambassador. He went to Oxford and he was interested in languages, so he came in to improve his Arabic. And one of the reasons why he actually went to Alexandria is because while he was studying in Oxford, he befriended Nassim, Justine's husband. And so Nassim invited him over into his parental house, into the large estate, which is just sort of more into the desert, more into the oasis, away from Alexandria. And he visits when he's still a young man, and he gets to see the family of Nassim and his brother Naruz while both of the parents were still alive. And he forms a relationship with the members of that family. He stays with them for quite a brief period of time, and when he leaves, he maintains the connection. And he writes to two of them in particular. He is not very keen on Naruz, but he's keen on everyone else. And as life follows, he has different posts to different countries, like he goes to Russia, for example, for one of his posts, which is briefly mentioned here. And then eventually he's promoted and he returns to Egypt. He kind of has to go to Cairo, but the center was still, sort of the culture center was back in Alexandria. And what is interesting about the third volume is that we get to know more of background story behind the Nassim and Naruz family. We get to understand way more as to why the marriage between Justine and Nassim took place, what fed into it. You get to see the secret life, and it links really nicely to what had happened back into the first volume of the quartet, when you had the murder and then Justine had this sudden disappearance. It kind of explains why she had to just disappear, and it makes you wonder yet again, like, why she was using Darley, the main narrator of the first part. Was she using him as a cover? Did she actually have feelings? There's lots of questions raised into this book. Personally, out of the three I've read so far, this was my least favorite, and I think the main reason for that was the fact that the language has been simplified. You don't have this new style which was introduced into the first volume, so it's much easier to read. But I got to appreciate the beauty of the first and second volume, so it was a little bit lacking in the third. As a sequel to the first two books, it's fantastic. But as a standalone, if that was the first work I have read, it would have been like 3.5 stars. But because it's part of the series, it adds quite a lot of spice to the previous books. I have given this 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5 overall. It still has questions unanswered, and it still raised yet more questions, but I got to understand all of those side characters which were popping in and out in the first books way more. And I don't want to give you any spoilers, so that's why I'm quite vague in the way I'm describing it. It is still really, really good. I'm very curious as what happens in volume 4, because volume 4, unlike the first 3 books, we're gonna go into the future and we're gonna see retrospectively what has happened to our characters from yet another pair of eyes, from another character, which has been popping in and out through the first 3 books. I like the fact that each book has its own main narrator. I do like it, because so far those 3 books, they have looked at the events which took place at the same time from 3 different perspectives. The only thing which really saddened the experience for me with the third volume, I think, actually the main reason why I was a little bit sad, is the fact that there is no Justine pretty much. She's mentioned briefly. She has a couple of scenes with her husband, but the beacon of light is shown on the other characters. The best thing for me, I guess, was the relationship between the two brothers, between Nassim and Naruz, because finally it has been explained, at least a little bit. So yes, I would still really recommend reading this. Obviously read them in the order they have been written. Mountolive should be read as a third book, and if you don't, you just lose out in the experience. So yeah, I will see you guys in the fourth and last video on the series. Happy reading.